The morning sun warmed Jae-ho Kim's weathered face as he walked through his small farm outside Seoul. At 55, his black hair now showed streaks of gray, but his body remained strong from years of military service and now from working the land. 6 months into retirement from Earth's United Space Force, he still woke up at dawn every day, old habits refusing to die. Today felt different, though. Jae-ho couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. He stopped by his rice field and looked up at the clear blue sky. Nothing seemed out of place, yet his soldier's instincts buzzed like an alarm. Probably just missing the action, he muttered to himself, continuing his morning check of the crops. By midday, Jae-ho was fixing his tractor when a sleek black car pulled up to his farmhouse. 2 men in dark suits stepped out, looking too official to be selling anything. "Captain Jae-ho Kim," one of them called. Jae-ho wiped his hands on a rag and walked toward them. "It's just Mr. Kim now. I retired." "Sir, we need you to come with us. It's a matter of global security." Jae-ho crossed his arms. "I've heard that line before. Who are you working for?" "The United Earth government, sir. But we're not the ones who requested this meeting." Before Jae-ho could ask who did, a third figure stepped out of the car. Jae-ho's eyes widened. This was not a human. The being stood nearly 7 feet tall with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Its 4 arms moved with gentle grace, and its large eyes, completely black, studied Jae-ho with obvious intelligence. "Captain Kim," the alien spoke, its voice smooth and musical despite the human words. "I am Ambassador Ilara of the Galactic Council. I apologize for this unexpected visit, but time is of great importance." Jae-ho had heard rumors of alien contact at the highest levels of government, but like most people, he had dismissed them as conspiracy theories. Yet here stood living proof. "What do you want with a retired captain?" Jae-ho asked, keeping his voice steady despite his shock. "We need your help," Ilara said simply. "All of humanity's help, in fact, but leaders like you most of all." 1 hour later, Jae-ho sat in his living room across from the alien ambassador. The government agents waited outside, giving them privacy. "Let me be clear," Ilara explained. "The Galactic Council includes over 200 species from across this section of the galaxy. We have maintained peace for thousands of years through cooperation and technology sharing." "And you've been watching Earth?" Jae-ho asked. "Yes. Your planet has been of special interest due to its unusual properties." "What properties?" Ilara's expression shifted in what might have been a smile. "Captain Kim, you live on what we classify as a Deathworlder, a planet with high gravity, extreme climate variation, high levels of radiation, and aggressive life forms. Most intelligent species evolve on much more stable, peaceful worlds." Jae-ho frowned. "You're saying Earth is unusually harsh. To most galactic species, your world would be nearly uninhabitable without significant protection. The humans who evolved here carry traits rarely seen elsewhere: physical strength, aggressive instincts, adaptability to stress, and remarkable endurance." "You make us sound like monsters," Jae-ho said. "Not monsters, warriors," Ilara corrected, "which is precisely what the galaxy now needs." Ilara raised one of her 4 hands, and a small device floated into the air. It projected a 3-dimensional image in the middle of Jae-ho's living room, a swirling mass of darkness studded with points of light. "This is a section of the Orion arm of our galaxy," Ilara explained. Then the image changed, showing the same region with a dark, spreading stain moving through it. Where the stain passed, the stars winked out. "And this is what we call the Void Cascade. It appeared 6 months ago at the edge of known space. It consumes everything in its path: planets, stars, even the fabric of space itself. Our scientists believe it may be a weapon deployed by an unknown civilization beyond our galaxy." Jae-ho leaned forward, studying the projection. "How fast is it moving?" "It will reach Earth's solar system in approximately 18 months if not stopped," The weight of those words hung in the air. Jiho stood up and walked to the window, looking out at his farm, the peaceful life he had built after years of military service. Why come to me? Surely you have your own military forces. Ilara's large eyes blinked slowly. We do. But the Galactic Council species evolved in environments that favored cooperation over conflict. Our ships are designed for exploration and commerce, not war. When our fleets engaged the Cascade, they were ineffective. Jiho turned back to face the alien. And you think humans would do better? We've barely reached Mars. Your technology is indeed primitive compared to ours, Ilara agreed. But your military thinking, your battle instincts, your willingness to fight against impossible odds, these are rare qualities in the galaxy. With our technology and your warriors, we might stand a chance. 3 days later, Jiho stood in an underground facility beneath the United Nations headquarters in New York. Around the large table sat the Secretary General, military leaders from major world powers, and 3 alien representatives, including Ilara. On the large screen at the front of the room played footage that still seemed impossible, actual recordings of council ships engaging the Void Cascade. The alien vessels, beautiful and sleek, fired weapons of incredible power at the darkness. But their attacks seemed uncoordinated, predictable. The darkness simply flowed around them, eventually engulfing several ships. You can see why we need your help, Ilara said as the recording ended. Our species have lived in peace for so long that we've lost the capacity for effective combat strategy. General Yang from the Korean military spoke up. What exactly are you proposing? A joint fleet, Ilara explained. We provide the ships and technology. You provide the crews and tactical leadership. Together, we form the galaxy's defense line. And in return, asked the American admiral, besides saving Earth, full membership in the Galactic Council, access to technologies that would advance your species by centuries, medical knowledge that could end disease on your world, clean energy solutions, faster than light travel. Jiho had remained silent throughout the meeting, processing everything he was seeing and hearing. Now all eyes turned to him. Captain Kim, the Secretary General said, "You've reviewed all the information. As someone with extensive combat experience who has also now spent time with our visitors, what is your assessment?" Jiho took a deep breath. "I believe they're telling the truth. The threat is real, and they really do need our help." He looked directly at Ilara. "But there's something you're not telling us. The Cascade isn't moving randomly through the galaxy, is it? It has a specific target." The room fell silent. Ilara's shimmering skin seemed to dim slightly. "You are perceptive, Captain," she said finally. "Our scientists believe the Cascade is drawn to Deathworlds, to the unique energy signature they emit." She paused. "Earth may be its primary destination." Murmurs broke out around the table. Jiho held up his hand for silence. "So you didn't just choose us for our warrior instincts. You chose us because we have the most to lose." "Yes," Ilara admitted, "but that makes you the galaxy's best hope. What species will fight harder than one defending its home?" Jiho looked around at the human leaders, seeing the mix of fear and determination on their faces. Then he turned back to Ilara. "If we do this, we're not just following your orders. Humans will have equal say in strategy and operations. We'll need to train together, learn from each other." "Of course," Ilara agreed. Jiho stood up straight, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders once more. Retirement would have to wait. "Then let's start putting together this Deathworlder fleet." He looked around the room. "We have a galaxy to save, starting with our own world." As the meeting broke into discussion of logistics and next steps, Jiho stepped aside with Ilara. "There's one more thing," he said quietly. "I want to see these ships of yours. If I'm going to lead humans into battle on alien vessels, I need to know what we're working with." Ilara's eyes seemed to shine with something like respect. "Captain Kim, I believe you just became the first human to request a trip to our orbital station." She made a gesture with her upper right hand. Your transportation can be arranged immediately." Jaiho looked up, knowing that somewhere beyond the ceiling and clouds, an alien station waited. His simple life on the farm seemed very far away now. "Let's go," he said. "We have a lot of work to do." 6 months had passed since first contact. The orbital shipyard above Earth buzzed with activity as human crews worked alongside alien engineers to prepare the fleet. The massive ring structure, hidden behind advanced cloaking technology, had become home to thousands of humans training for the mission ahead. Jaiho, now Admiral Kim of the newly formed Human Expeditionary Fleet, stood at the viewing deck, watching as Earth rotated slowly below. His old captain's uniform had been replaced with a new design, a blend of human military tradition and council technology. The dark blue fabric adjusted to his body temperature, while subtle enhancements in the suit could protect him from radiation and even provide brief survival in vacuum. "Admiral, Commander Park has arrived for the briefing," said his aide. Jaiho nodded. "Send her in." Soo-Jin Park entered the room with quick, confident steps. At 35, she was one of Earth's most brilliant tactical officers and Jaiho's former student at the Space Force Academy. Her short black hair framed a face that rarely showed emotion, but her eyes were always alert, missing nothing. "The simulation results came in," she said without preamble. "Our approach worked." The council officers couldn't believe it. Jaiho allowed himself a small smile. "Show me." Soo-Jin activated the holographic display in the center of the room. It showed a formation of ships, the sleek, organic-looking vessels of the Council fleet positioned in traditional defensive patterns, with the smaller, more angular human-modified ships taking unusual positions. The Council's combat doctrine is all about maximizing shield coverage and coordinated fire patterns. Soo-Jin explained. "It's perfect against conventional enemies who think the same way. But the cascade doesn't think. It flows toward weakness and away from strength." The simulation played forward, showing the dark mass of the cascade approaching the fleet. The council ships fired in perfect synchronization, creating beautiful patterns of energy that did minimal damage. The human ships, meanwhile, darted in seemingly random patterns, firing from unexpected angles and creating deliberate weak points that became traps. "We're using chaos as a weapon," Jaiho observed, "something the council species can't understand because their evolution never required it." "Exactly," Soo-Jin agreed. "They evolved on peaceful worlds where cooperation was the key to survival. We evolved on a death world where unpredictability keeps you alive." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message from the command center. "Admiral Kim, we have a situation. The Alturian science vessel Stellar Harmony is under attack. A Cascade scout appeared without warning in Sector 7. Jaiho's expression hardened. "This wasn't supposed to happen yet. We're still in the training phase." "The Cascade doesn't care about our schedule," Soo-Jin said grimly. "Sir, request permission to lead the response team." Jaiho hesitated only briefly. "Granted. Take Battle Group 3. This is no longer a drill, Commander." "Understood, sir." Soo-Jin saluted and ran from the room. The bridge of the Swift Justice Soo-Jin's command ship, hummed with tension as the crew prepared for their first real combat. The vessel had once been a Council explorer, now retrofitted with human-designed weapon systems and a more aggressive power distribution network. Approaching Sector 7, the navigation officer reported. "The Stellar Harmony is sending distress signals. 47 scientists on board, mostly Alturian with 3 human researchers." Soo-Jin stood behind the main tactical display. "Show me the enemy." The screen shifted to reveal the Cascade Scout, a twisting, dark entity that seemed to bend light around it. Unlike the main Cascade mass, this scout was relatively small, perhaps the size of a destroyer. It circled the science vessel, sending tendrils of darkness to probe the ship's shields. "It's testing defenses before consuming," noted Taemin Hwang, the xenobiologist attached to their ship. Dr. Huang had been working with the Council for years before the Alliance, one of the few humans who had knowledge of alien biology. His expertise made him invaluable to understanding the cascade. "We don't have time for a full battle plan," Su Jin decided. "Lieutenant Du, prepare the pulse cannons. Gunner Kim, load disruptor torpedoes. Commander, Council protocol requires approval from Central Command before engaging the enemy," the communications officer said. Su Jin's eyes never left the tactical display. "This is a human ship now. We don't have time for committees." She activated the ship-wide comm. "All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill." The asterisk Swift Justice asterisk accelerated toward the engagement zone, followed by the other 5 ships of Battle Group 3. Instead of approaching in formation as Council doctrine would demand, Su Jin ordered her ships to enter at different vectors and speeds. "The Cascade entity is altering course," reported the sensor officer. "It seems confused by our approach." "Good," Su Jin said. "It's used to predictable enemies. Hit it from all sides, random firing patterns. Don't give it time to analyze our strategy." The human ships opened fire, energy weapons cutting through space from multiple directions. The Cascade Scout pulled back from the science vessel, dark tendrils whipping around as it tried to track the threats coming from all directions. "It's working," shouted Lieutenant Du. "The entity is retreating from the science vessel." But Su Jin wasn't satisfied. "It will come back with reinforcements if we just drive it off. Bring us closer." "Commander," Dr. Huang warned, "direct engagement is not recommended. We still don't fully understand." "We understand enough," Su Jin cut him off. "It feeds on predictability and fears chaos. So let's give it chaos." She ordered the asterisk Swift Justice asterisk to charge directly at the entity, while the other ships maintained their erratic firing patterns. As they closed in, the Cascade Scout seemed to hesitate, a behavior never observed by Council forces. "Fire disruptor torpedoes, full spread," Su Jin commanded. The torpedoes, designed to scramble the quantum field that appeared to hold the Cascade entities together, launched from the ship's bow. They struck the dark mass, creating ripples of energy that tore through its structure. The entity convulsed, then collapsed in on itself, dissolving into nothingness. A cheer went up from the bridge crew. The first real victory against the Cascade had been won by humans, using tactics the Council would never have attempted. Back at the Orbital Command Center, news of Battle Group 3's success spread quickly. Jiho reviewed the combat footage with Council representatives, including the High Chancellor Xylith, a tall, willowy being with translucent skin through which complex patterns of light moved. Commander Park disobeyed direct protocol. Xylith noted, their voice neither approving nor condemning. "Council doctrine requires full tactical analysis before engagement." "With respect, Chancellor," Jiho replied, "the science vessel would have been lost by then. Human combat doctrine values speed and initiative." "And chaos, it seems," added another Council member. "Controlled chaos," Jiho corrected. "The Cascade operates on efficiency, consuming with minimal energy expenditure. When faced with an unpredictable enemy, it cannot calculate the most efficient approach." Dr. Huang, who had returned with Su Jin's battle group, stepped forward. His analysis equipment had gathered valuable data during the engagement. "I believe I understand why the entity retreated from our ships specifically," he said. "The Cascade seems to have a rudimentary form of threat assessment. When the Council ships attacked in their predictable patterns, the Cascade could calculate acceptable losses and continue its approach. But our ships," he paused, looking at his data tablet. "Our ships registered as unknown variables with potentially unlimited threat potential." "It feared you," Xylith said, the lights under their skin pulsing with what might have been excitement. "Not fear as we understand it," Dr. Huang clarified. "But its hive mind recognized an inefficient target and redirected resources." Chancellor Xylith turned to Jiho. "Admiral Kim, the Council has observed today's events with great interest. While Commander Park's methods were Unorthodox by our standards, the results are undeniable. The alien's face formed what approximated a smile. We are formally granting operational authority to the human command structure. The combined fleet will follow your battle doctrine. Jai-Ho nodded, understanding the enormous significance of this moment. Humans, considered primitive by galactic standards just months ago, were now leading the defense of the galaxy. "We won't let you down, Chancellor," he said. "But this was just a scout. The main cascade is still coming. And we will be ready," Su Jin said, entering the room. She looked tired but satisfied after her victory. The Deathworlder fleet is just getting started. As the meeting concluded, Jai-Ho pulled Su Jin aside. "Good work out there," he said quietly. "But we've only seen a fraction of what the cascade can do." Su Jin's expression was determined. "Then we'll need to be even more unpredictable. That's humanity's strength, isn't it? The Council has technology, but we have the one thing they never needed on their peaceful worlds." "And what's that?" Jai-Ho asked. "The instinct to fight like hell when backed into a corner," she replied. "After all, that's what Deathworlders do best." 1 year had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council's defense efforts. The human-led fleet had grown to over 50 ships, each commanded by Earth's best officers. The combined forces had established a defensive line along the Orion Arm, slowing the Cascade's advance through a series of hard-fought battles. Admiral Jai-Ho stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Defiant Shield *, studying the tactical display of their current position. The ship vibrated slightly beneath his feet, its powerful engines maintaining position at the edge of the Cygnus system. Around him, a mix of human and alien crew members worked with practiced efficiency. "Status report," Jai-Ho ordered. "All ships in position, Admiral," responded his first officer. "Captain Hansol's battle group is patrolling the outer perimeter. Captain Junho's ships are in reserve position behind the main line." Jai-Ho nodded. Hansol Lee was his most careful and methodical captain, perfect for reconnaissance. Junho Choi, on the other hand, was impulsive and creative, a risk-taker who had pulled off some of their most daring victories. And the Council ships. Supreme Commander Xylith's forces are in standard formation, backing our front line as agreed. The battle plan was simple but effective. Human ships would lead the engagement with their unpredictable tactics, while the more powerful but less maneuverable Council vessels provided heavy firepower from protected positions. It had worked in their last 6 engagements. The communications officer suddenly straightened in her seat. "Admiral, we're detecting cascade activity. Multiple entities emerging from subspace." The tactical display lit up with warning signals as dark shapes appeared at the edge of the system. Unlike the scouts they had faced before, these were massive, city-sized concentrations of the void energy that composed the cascade. "Battle stations," Jai-Ho ordered calmly. "Inform all captains to initiate attack pattern thunderstorm." Throughout the fleet, human crews rushed to their positions. The pattern Jai-Ho had ordered was one of Su Jin's creations, a complex dance of advances and retreats designed to confuse the cascade's ability to predict movements. The battle began with human ships darting forward in seemingly random patterns, firing precisely timed shots to probe the cascade entity's defenses. The Council ships followed the agreed plan, moving into support positions. From his position on the Defiant Shield *, Jai-Ho watched as Captain Hansol's ships executed a perfect flanking maneuver, cutting off one cascade entity from the others. Captain Junho's reserve force prepared to exploit any weakness they created. "It's working," Su Jin observed from her station beside Jai-Ho. "The entities are breaking formation, trying to adjust to our attack pattern." Then, without warning, the communications officer called out, "Admiral, Supreme Commander Xylith is ordering Council ships to fall back." Jai-Ho's head snapped up. "What? That's not the plan. Get me Xylith immediately." The large view screen shifted to show the Supreme Commander's face. The Alturians' normally composed features showed signs of stress, the light patterns under their translucent skin moving rapidly. Admiral Kim, our analysts have calculated the loss projections for this engagement. They are beyond acceptable parameters. We must regroup. Commander Xylith, your retreat will leave 3 of our forward ships exposed. Jaiho argued. Captain Hansol's group will be cut off. The calculations indicate that would be an acceptable tactical sacrifice for the greater fleet's survival. Xylith responded. We've already begun withdrawal. The screen went dark as Xylith cut the connection. Jaiho watched in disbelief as the council ships began pulling back, their powerful weapons falling silent. Get me Captain Junho, Jaiho ordered. Junho's face appeared on screen. The young captain had a reputation for boldness that bordered on recklessness, but his crew would follow him anywhere. I see the situation, Admiral, Junho said before Jaiho could speak. Request permission to break formation and provide cover for Captain Hansol's group. Jaiho hesitated only briefly. Permission granted. But Junho, get them out and get back. Don't try to be a hero. Understood, sir, Junho replied with a quick smile, though I can't promise not to look heroic while doing it. The view screen returned to the tactical display, showing Junho's 5 ships accelerating toward the isolated battle group. They moved in a tight, aggressive formation that cut through the space between 2 cascade entities. What is he doing? Gasped one of the alien crew members. That's not in any tactical manual. It's called drawing fire. Sujin explained grimly. He's making himself the primary target to give Hansol's ships a chance to escape. The plan worked. The cascade entities turned their attention to Junho's incoming ships, tentacles of dark energy reaching out to grab them. This gave Hansol's group the opening they needed to break away and head back toward the main fleet. But the cost was high, as Junho's flagship, the Bold Venture led the rescue. It took a direct hit from a cascade tendril. The ship's shields flared and failed, and dark energy began to consume the vessel's hull. Bold Venture is critically damaged, reported the sensor officer, voice tight with emotion. They've lost engine power and life support is failing. Jaiho gripped the edge of the tactical display. Get emergency transporters locked on. Get them out of there. For tense minutes, the rest of Junho's battle group fought to protect their damaged flagship, while transport beams pulled survivors from the dying ship. Finally, the last transport completed. Captain Junho is aboard the Swift Redemption but he's severely injured, came the report. They're retreating now, but the Bold Venture is lost. Jaiho watched as the abandoned ship was fully engulfed by the cascade entity. Then, with the rescued ships safely retreating, he ordered the remaining fleet to fall back to secondary positions. The battle was over. They had stopped the cascade advance, but at a terrible price. Hours later, aboard the Council command station, the mood was tense. Jaiho stood facing Supreme Commander Xylith and the Council leadership, his anger barely contained. You abandoned our ships, Jaiho said, his voice low but hard. We had a battle plan that everyone agreed to, and you broke formation without warning. Xylith remained unnervingly calm. Our tactical computers calculated. I don't care what your computers calculated, Jaiho interrupted. We don't leave our people to die. Ever. This emotional attachment to individual units is inefficient, another council member observed. Jaiho looked at them in disbelief. They're not units. They're people. And Captain Junho nearly died saving the crew members your retreat endangered. The casualty numbers were within acceptable parameters. Xylith insisted. 3 ships lost versus potentially 15 if we had maintained position. Acceptable parameters. Jaiho's voice rose. Who decides what's acceptable? Some computer program. The council members exchanged glances. One of them, an elder Alturian, spoke gently. Admiral Kim, you must understand. Our species have evolved beyond making decisions based on emotional responses. We calculate the greatest good for the greatest number. It is how we have maintained peace for thousands of years. Well, we're not at peace now, Jai-Ho replied. And if this alliance is going to work, you need to understand that humans don't think that way. We don't sacrifice people based on cold probability. The meeting ended in an uncomfortable stalemate. As Jai-Ho left the council chamber, he found Dr. Taman waiting for him in the corridor. The scientist looked troubled. "Admiral, I need to speak with you, privately." They moved to a small observation room overlooking the docking bay, where repair teams worked on damaged ships. "What is it, Doctor?" Jai-Ho asked. Taman activated a small device that created a privacy field around them. "I've been analyzing the Cascade's movement patterns since we began fighting back," he said quietly. "There's something the Council isn't telling us." He displayed a holographic map showing the Cascade's path through the galaxy. "Look at this pattern. It's not random expansion. The Cascade is following a specific trajectory." Taman's finger traced the path. "And if you extend that trajectory forward," his finger stopped directly on a small blue dot. "It's heading straight for Earth." Jai-Ho stared at the map, the implications sinking in. They knew. They knew Earth was the target all along. "I believe so," Taman agreed. "The Cascade seems drawn to Deathworld specifically. Earth isn't just one possible target. It's the primary target." Jai-Ho's mind raced. That's why they were so eager to recruit humans, not just for our combat abilities, but because they knew we'd fight hardest to protect our own world. "What will you do?" Taman asked. Jai-Ho looked out at the fleet they had built together, human ingenuity combined with alien technology, creating something neither could have achieved alone. "First, I'm going to check on Captain Jun-Ho," he said firmly. "Then I'm going to have a very different conversation with the High Chancellor." As he turned to leave, Jai-Ho paused. "The Council thinks in terms of acceptable losses and greater goods. But they're about to learn that when Earth is threatened, humans don't accept any losses. We fight for every single life, every single time." The determination in his voice left no doubt. The Deathworlder fleet wasn't just fighting for the galaxy anymore. They were fighting for their home. The High Chancellor's private chamber was quiet and dimly lit. Jai-Ho stood facing the most powerful being in the Galactic Council, his back straight and face set with determination. "You knew," Jai-Ho said simply. "You knew Earth was the target all along." High Chancellor Lyra, an ancient Alturian whose skin had turned almost completely transparent with age, did not deny it. Unlike the other council members, she did not hide behind calculations and protocols. "Yes, Admiral Kim. We knew," she admitted. "Our scientists detected the Cascade's trajectory months before we made contact with your world." "Then you lied to us. You didn't recruit humans just for our combat abilities. You recruited us because we would fight hardest to save our own planet." The High Chancellor rose from her seat, the patterns of light beneath her skin flowing in complex patterns. "We did not lie, Admiral. We simply did not tell you everything." She walked to a large window overlooking the vast council station. "Tell me, would humans have fought with less determination if they knew Earth was the primary target?" "No," Jai-Ho conceded, "but we deserved to know the truth. We deserved to know what we were really fighting for." "Perhaps," the Chancellor said, "but understand this. We did not choose humans out of some cold calculation. We came to Earth because we genuinely believed that only the species with the most to lose would fight with the necessary resolve." She turned to face him. "And we were right. Your people have accomplished what none of our species could." Jai-Ho considered her words. The anger he felt was still there, but mixed with a grudging understanding. What matters now is stopping the Cascade before it reaches Earth. How much time do we have? Based on its current speed, 3 weeks, perhaps less. 3 weeks to save his world. Jai-Ho's mind raced with possibilities, none of them good. The defensive strategy they had been using had slowed the Cascade, but failed to stop it. "We need a new approach," he said finally. "No more defensive actions. We need to strike at the heart of the Cascade." The High Chancellor looked surprised. A direct assault. Our analysts have calculated the survival probability of such an action at less than 7%. Jai-Ho allowed himself a grim smile. Then it's a good thing humans don't always listen to probabilities. Call the council leaders together. It's time they heard what Deathworlders do when backed into a corner. The command center of the Asterisk, Defiant Shield Asterisk, was packed with the fleet's top officers. Captain Hansol Lee stood near the tactical display, his normally calm face tense. Captain Jun-Ho Choi sat in a chair, still recovering from his injuries, but refusing to miss the briefing. Commander Soo-Jin Park stood beside Jai-Ho, ready to present their plan. The Cascade isn't just a random destructive force, Soo-Jin began. Dr. Taman's research has identified a central node, what we might call a brain, that coordinates its actions. She displayed a holographic image of the Cascade structure, highlighting a dense area at its center. If we can destroy this node, the entire entity should collapse. That node is protected by the largest concentration of Cascade forces, Hansol pointed out. Getting close enough to strike it would be nearly impossible. Nearly impossible, Jun-Ho repeated with a pained grin. Those are the kinds of odds I like. Soo-Jin activated the tactical simulator. We've developed a plan called Operation Spirit. It's unlike anything the Council would ever attempt, which is exactly why it might work. The simulation showed the combined fleet forming 3 distinct groups. Captain Hansol will lead the largest group in a direct frontal assault, not to win, but to draw attention. Meanwhile, Captain Jun-Ho's fast attack group will create a series of explosive diversions here and here. She pointed to different sectors of the Cascade mass. And while the Cascade is dealing with both threats, a small strike team led by Admiral Kim and myself will approach from this vector. She indicated a narrow path through the Cascade's forces. We'll be in specially modified ships with enhanced stealth systems. Our goal is to reach the central node and deploy the quantum disruptor weapon. The room fell silent as the implications became clear. It was a suicide mission for at least part of the fleet. The Council will never agree to this, one of the officers said. They already have, Jai-Ho responded. After I explained that the alternative was watching Earth be consumed, they saw the logic of a final, decisive strike. He looked around at the officers, his comrades, his friends. I won't order anyone to join this mission. The risks are too great. But Earth is our home, and we won't let it fall without giving everything we have. One by one, the officers stood. For Earth, Hansol said simply. For all worlds, added Jun-Ho, struggling to his feet. And so the final battle plan was set. The Cascade loomed ahead, a vast darkness against the stars. From the bridge of his modified stealth ship, the Asterisk Silent Arrow Asterisk, Jai-Ho watched as the battle unfolded. Hansol's forces engaged the Cascade head-on, their ships firing in chaotic patterns that had become the hallmark of human tactics. The Council's massive vessels backed them up, their powerful weapons causing visible damage to the outer layers of the Cascade. On the opposite flank, Jun-Ho's ships darted in and out of range, deploying special mines that created localized subspace ruptures, wounds in the fabric of space that even the Cascade could not easily heal. The diversions are working, Soo-Jin reported from her station. Cascade energy is flowing toward both attack points. Then it's time, Jai-Ho said. Begin our approach. The Asterisk Silent Arrow Asterisk and its 2 companion ships accelerated toward the gap that had opened in the Cascade's defenses. Their experimental stealth systems, developed by combining human ingenuity with Council technology, made them nearly invisible to the Cascade's senses. They penetrated deeper into the darkness, the ship's sensors struggling to map a path through the constantly shifting energies. Outside, stars disappeared as the void swallowed all light. Central node detected, reported the sensor officer. Distance, 10,000 kilometers and closing. Jai-Ho felt a strange calm descend upon him. All his life had led to this moment. From his childhood in Korea to his years in Earth's military, to the unexpected role of leading humanity's defense against an alien threat. Whatever happened next, he knew they had given their all. Weapon status, he asked. Quantum disruptor at full charge, Soo-jin confirmed. Delivery system ready. The plan was simple in concept. The disruptor would create a cascading reaction that would tear the node apart from within. But as they closed in on their target, the sensors suddenly blared warnings. "The delivery system is damaged," the engineering officer shouted. "We took a hit from a cascade tendril. The automated launcher is offline." Jai-ho and Soo-jin exchanged glances. They both knew what this meant. "Manual delivery is still possible," Soo-jin said quietly. "A shuttle could carry the disruptor directly to the target." "I'll go," Jai-ho said immediately. Soo-jin shook her head. "No, Admiral. Your place is with the fleet. Earth will need leadership after this is over." Before he could protest, she added, "Besides, I've studied the cascade patterns more than anyone. I have the best chance of navigating through to the node." Jai-ho knew she was right, but the thought of sending his former student, someone he had mentored and come to respect deeply, to certain death tore at him. "There has to be another way," he insisted. "There isn't," Soo-jin replied calmly. "And we both know it." She straightened to attention and saluted him formally. "It has been an honor to serve with you, Admiral." Minutes later, a small shuttle launched from the Silent Arrow carrying Soo-jin and the quantum disruptor toward the heart of darkness. Jai-ho watched from the bridge, his heart heavy but filled with pride. "She's past the outer defenses," reported the sensor officer. "Approaching the node now." Suddenly, the communications officer called out, "Incoming transmission from Commander Park." Soo-jin's face appeared on screen, calm despite the danger surrounding her. "Admiral, I've reached the target. Disruptor is armed and ready." "Soo-jin," Jai-ho began, but found he had no words. She smiled. "Don't worry about me, sir. Just make sure this counts." Her eyes shifted to something off-screen. "The node is reacting to my presence. I think it knows what we're doing." There was wonder in her voice. "It's beautiful, in a strange way." "Commander Park," Jai-ho tried again. "Tell everyone that Earth is worth it," she said. "Detonation in 3, 2. The screen went dark. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a wave of energy unlike anything they had ever seen erupted from the center of the cascade. The darkness began to fold in on itself, tendrils of void energy whipping wildly before dissolving into nothing. Throughout the fleet, crews watched in awe as the cascade, the unstoppable force that had threatened the galaxy, collapsed completely. "She did it," whispered Jai-ho. She actually did it. The price had been high. Many ships had been lost in the diversionary attacks. But Earth was safe, and with it, countless other worlds that would have fallen to the cascade. 3 months later, Jai-ho stood in Seoul's largest park, where a memorial had been erected to honor those who had fallen in the battle. At its center stood a statue of Soo-jin, her face serene and determined as it had been in her final moments. Beside him stood Dr. Taemin and Captain Jun-ho, both still recovering from their injuries. Captain Hansol approached, accompanied by High Chancellor Lyra and other council representatives. "The people of Earth and the Galactic Council gather today to remember the heroes of the Deathworlder fleet," announced the Earth President. "Through their sacrifice, not just our world but countless others were saved from destruction." As the ceremony proceeded, Jai-ho's thoughts turned to the future. Earth had been officially welcomed as a full member of the Galactic Council. Human ships now patrolled distant stars, bringing their unique perspective to a galaxy that had known only peace for too long. "What happens now, Admiral?" asked Jun-ho quietly. Jai-ho looked up at the blue sky, knowing that beyond it lay a universe full of wonders and dangers. "Now we take our place among the stars," he said, "not just as warriors, but as teachers. The galaxy learned something important from us, that some things are worth fighting for, no matter the odds." As if in answer, a council ship passed overhead, its sleek form gleaming in the sunlight. Aboard were the first aliens to officially visit Earth, not as recruiters or allies, but as guests and friends. The Deathworlder fleet had become the galaxy's shield, and in doing so, humanity had found its place in the stars.